Female masturbation is a natural and normal aspect of human sexuality, widely recognized in medical and psychological research as a healthy part of self-exploration and personal well-being. From a medical standpoint, it is associated with various benefits, including stress relief, improved sleep, and enhanced sexual health. Understanding its physiological and psychological effects helps demystify misconceptions and promotes a more informed perspective on personal health. The human body, including the female reproductive system, is designed to experience sexual pleasure. The clitoris, a highly sensitive organ with thousands of nerve endings, plays a central role in sexual arousal and pleasure. Unlike other organs in the body, the clitoris exists solely for pleasure, and stimulating it releases neurotransmitters such as dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. These chemicals contribute to feelings of relaxation, happiness, and stress relief. Research indicates that regular sexual activity, including masturbation, can improve pelvic floor muscle strength, leading to better bladder control and reduced risks of conditions such as urinary incontinence. The contraction of these muscles during orgasm acts as a form of exercise, which can be beneficial for overall reproductive health. Additionally, increased blood flow to the genital region helps maintain tissue elasticity and function. One of the most common benefits of female masturbation from a medical standpoint is its ability to alleviate menstrual cramps. During sexual arousal and orgasm, the body releases endorphins, which act as natural pain relievers. These chemicals help relax the uterine muscles, reducing the intensity of cramps. Many women report that self-stimulation before or during their menstrual cycle helps manage discomfort without the need for medication. Masturbation also contributes to improved sleep quality. The release of oxytocin and prolactin after orgasm induces relaxation, making it easier to fall asleep. Studies suggest that engaging in sexual activity before bed can lead to deeper, more restorative sleep, reducing symptoms of insomnia and promoting overall well-being. In terms of mental health, masturbation can serve as an effective stress management tool. Sexual pleasure triggers the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and reducing levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. This physiological response helps in coping with anxiety, depression, and emotional tension. It provides a safe and natural way to enhance mood and promote relaxation. Another significant medical benefit is its role in sexual function and body awareness. Many women who engage in self-exploration develop a better understanding of their bodies, leading to increased comfort with their own anatomy and improved sexual confidence. This knowledge can translate into healthier relationships and more fulfilling intimate experiences. Understanding personal pleasure also allows individuals to communicate their needs more effectively with their partners, fostering healthier sexual relationships. There have been misconceptions regarding the impact of masturbation on physical health. Some myths suggest that frequent masturbation leads to hormonal imbalances, decreased fertility, or even physical deformities. However, extensive medical research confirms that these claims are unfounded. Hormonal levels remain stable regardless of masturbation frequency, and there is no evidence linking self-stimulation to negative reproductive outcomes. In fact, some studies indicate that regular sexual activity, including masturbation, may improve fertility by maintaining healthy reproductive organ function. From a medical perspective, maintaining a healthy approach to self-stimulation involves understanding its place in overall well-being. It should be seen as a natural aspect of human sexuality rather than a taboo subject. Educating individuals about the physiological benefits, rather than promoting guilt or shame, leads to a more positive and informed understanding of sexual health. Additionally, studies show that masturbation may help in the prevention of certain infections. Increased vaginal lubrication during sexual arousal helps flush out harmful bacteria from the urinary tract, reducing the risk of urinary tract infections, UTIs. The natural cleaning process stimulated by increased blood flow and fluid secretion can support overall reproductive health. There is also an important link between masturbation and hormonal balance. While sexual activity does not disrupt hormone levels, it can influence their regulation. Orgasms trigger the release of estrogen and oxytocin, both of which contribute to emotional well-being and physical health. Estrogen plays a key role in maintaining healthy skin, hair, and bone density, while oxytocin enhances emotional bonding and reduces feelings of loneliness. In the context of long-term health, masturbation has been linked to a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. Orgasms lead to temporary increases in heart rate and blood circulation, similar to light physical exercise. This effect supports cardiovascular health by promoting better blood flow and reducing the risk of hypertension. Some studies also suggest that sexual activity may contribute to lower stress-related inflammation, which is a known factor in heart disease. Another medical perspective highlights the role of masturbation in reducing sexual dysfunction. Women who engage in self-exploration tend to experience fewer issues with arousal, orgasm, and sexual satisfaction. Understanding one's body through self-stimulation can help address concerns such as difficulty reaching orgasm or decreased libido. This is particularly important for individuals going through menopause, as hormonal changes can impact sexual function. Regular sexual activity, including masturbation, helps maintain genital blood flow and tissue health, reducing symptoms such as vaginal dryness or discomfort. Psychological well-being is another crucial aspect. Masturbation has been linked to improved self-esteem and body image. Many individuals who embrace their sexuality develop a more positive relationship with their bodies, leading to increased confidence in intimate relationships. This self-acceptance contributes to overall emotional resilience and mental health. While masturbation is widely recognized as beneficial, it is essential to approach it in a balanced manner. Excessive or compulsive behavior that interferes with daily life or relationships may indicate underlying psychological concerns, such as anxiety or compulsive sexual behavior disorder. In such cases, seeking guidance from a healthcare professional can provide support in establishing a healthy balance. Cultural and societal perspectives on masturbation vary, and misconceptions often stem from outdated beliefs rather than scientific evidence. Medical professionals advocate for open discussions about sexual health to dispel myths and promote a more informed, positive approach. Encouraging education on the subject helps individuals make informed choices about their well-being without stigma or fear. In conclusion, from a medical standpoint, female masturbation is a healthy and normal aspect of human sexuality. Its benefits range from stress relief and improved sleep to enhanced sexual function and hormonal balance. The physiological and psychological advantages contribute to overall well-being, making it an essential part of self-care. By understanding the medical facts and eliminating misconceptions, individuals can foster a more positive and informed relationship with their bodies. In many religious traditions, sexuality is regarded as a sacred aspect of human life, meant to be expressed within specific moral and ethical frameworks. The Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, each have their own perspectives on sexual self-exploration, shaped by scriptures, theological interpretations, and teachings from religious scholars. Eastern religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism approach the topic differently, often focusing on self-discipline, spiritual purity, and the consequences of attachment to physical desires. In Christianity, perspectives on masturbation vary among denominations. The Bible does not explicitly mention masturbation, but Christian teachings often derive moral guidance from broader principles regarding sexuality, self-control, and purity. Many Christian traditions emphasize that sexual expression should occur within the confines of marriage and should be oriented toward procreation and unity between spouses. Some Christian scholars argue that masturbation is a form of self-indulgence that contradicts the virtue of chastity and may lead to lustful thoughts, which are cautioned against in biblical teachings. Others adopt a more compassionate approach, viewing it as a natural biological function that should not necessarily be associated with guilt or sin, especially when it does not involve harmful or excessive behavior. Catholic teachings, as outlined in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, generally regard masturbation as a morally disordered act because it is seen as a misuse of human sexuality, which is intended for marital intimacy. However, Catholic teachings also acknowledge that personal culpability may be influenced by psychological factors, habit, and emotional stress, suggesting that individual circumstances play a role in moral judgment. Some Christian denominations, including Protestant groups, have more lenient views, emphasizing personal conscience and the importance of avoiding excessive guilt over natural desires. In Islam, the discussion on masturbation is rooted in the teachings of the Quran and Hadith. Islamic scholars have debated the permissibility of self-stimulation, with many traditional scholars considering it discouraged or even forbidden under normal circumstances. The Quran encourages believers to guard their chastity and seek lawful sexual fulfillment within marriage. Many Islamic jurists interpret this guidance to mean that self-stimulation should be avoided unless there is a risk of committing a greater sin, such as fornication or adultery. However, some contemporary scholars acknowledge that in cases of extreme necessity, masturbation may be a lesser evil if it helps a person avoid engaging in prohibited sexual acts. Ultimately, Islamic teachings emphasize self-restraint, moral discipline, and seeking lawful means of fulfilling one's desires through marriage. Judaism presents a range of perspectives on sexual ethics, with traditional interpretations often discouraging or prohibiting masturbation based on biblical and rabbinic teachings. In Orthodox Judaism, the emphasis is placed on sexual purity and the belief that sexual energy should be directed within marriage. The story of Onan in the Torah, where he spills his seed on the ground and is punished by God, has been interpreted by some as a condemnation of self-gratification. However, modern Jewish perspectives vary, with some more progressive interpretations recognizing individual circumstances and promoting a balanced understanding of human sexuality. In Reform and Conservative Judaism, there is often a more lenient approach, with discussions focused on ethical considerations rather than strict prohibitions. Hinduism offers a different perspective on sexuality, often viewing it through the lens of dharma, moral duty, and spiritual discipline. Ancient Hindu texts discuss sexual energy as a powerful force that should be directed wisely. While some texts emphasize celibacy and self-restraint, particularly for those pursuing spiritual enlightenment, Hinduism also acknowledges the natural aspects of human desire. Some interpretations suggest that excessive indulgence in physical pleasure can lead to attachment and distraction from higher spiritual goals. However, Hinduism does not universally condemn masturbation, and interpretations vary based on philosophical traditions and personal beliefs. Buddhism approaches the topic with a focus on mindfulness and self-awareness. The teachings of the Buddha emphasize overcoming attachment to desires and achieving balance in all aspects of life. While masturbation is not explicitly condemned in Buddhist scriptures, the concept of right conduct, as part of the Eightfold Path, encourages individuals to avoid behaviors that lead to excessive craving or suffering. Some Buddhist traditions, particularly monastic communities, advocate celibacy as a means of achieving spiritual clarity, while lay practitioners are encouraged to cultivate moderation and mindfulness in their actions. Religious perspectives on female sexuality, including masturbation, have often been shaped by broader cultural attitudes and historical contexts. In many traditional societies, discussions about female sexuality have been limited or suppressed, leading to misconceptions and stigmatization. However, contemporary religious scholars and thinkers have increasingly engaged in open discussions about sexuality, acknowledging the need for a compassionate and informed approach to these topics. Many religious teachings emphasize self-discipline, purity, and the importance of using sexuality in a responsible and meaningful way. At the same time, modern discussions within faith communities recognize the psychological and physiological aspects of human sexuality. Religious perspectives continue to evolve as scholars and believers seek to balance traditional teachings with contemporary understandings of health, psychology, and personal well-being. For individuals navigating questions about faith and sexuality, religious guidance often encourages seeking wisdom from spiritual leaders, engaging in personal reflection, and considering one's intentions and beliefs. Many faith traditions emphasize the importance of intention and the role of conscience in moral decision-making. While some individuals may find that their faith discourages masturbation, others may interpret religious teachings in a way that aligns with self-care and holistic well-being. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping religious perspectives on female masturbation. In some societies, taboos surrounding female sexuality have been reinforced by cultural norms rather than religious doctrines. This has led to a lack of education and open discussion on the subject. However, as conversations about sexual health and well-being become more common, religious communities are increasingly addressing these topics in ways that promote understanding and respect for individual experiences. Religious teachings on sexuality often emphasize the value of personal dignity, self-respect, and meaningful relationships. Many faith traditions encourage individuals to approach their sexuality with mindfulness, seeking fulfillment in ways that align with their spiritual values. Whether through self-discipline, marital intimacy, or personal reflection, religious perspectives offer diverse approaches to navigating human desires in a way that fosters moral and emotional well-being. It is important to recognize that religious views on masturbation are not monolithic, and interpretations vary widely even within the same faith tradition. Individuals seeking guidance on this topic may find it beneficial to explore religious texts, consult with knowledgeable scholars, and engage in discussions that promote a deeper understanding of faith and sexuality. Ultimately, religious perspectives on female masturbation are shaped by theological beliefs, moral principles, and cultural influences. While some traditions discourage or prohibit it, others emphasize personal conscience and the importance of maintaining a balanced approach to sexuality. As discussions on faith and human sexuality continue to evolve, there is an increasing recognition of the need for compassionate, informed, and respectful dialogue that honors both religious teachings and individual experiences. Religious perspectives on female masturbation present a complex tapestry of views woven from diverse theological, cultural, and historical threads. Across different faith traditions, interpretations range from explicit condemnation to implicit acceptance, often influenced by prevailing societal norms, gender roles, and evolving understandings of sexuality. Delving into these perspectives requires sensitivity and a nuanced approach, recognizing that within each religion, a spectrum of opinions exists, and individual interpretations can diverge significantly. In many Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the predominant historical view has been one of disapproval, though the intensity and justifications for this disapproval vary. Often, this stance is rooted in interpretations of sacred texts that emphasize procreation as the primary purpose of sexual activity. Any sexual act that does not lead to procreation, including masturbation, might be seen as a misuse of the sexual faculty, a waste of potential life, or a violation of the divine order. In Judaism, the primary concern regarding masturbation, for both men and women, stems from the prohibition against wasting seed, which is primarily understood in the context of male ejaculation. While the direct application of this prohibition to female masturbation is debated, some interpretations extend the principle to discourage any sexual act deemed unproductive or self-indulgent. However, within contemporary Jewish thought, there's a growing recognition of female sexuality as a valid and important aspect of personal well-being. Some Reform and Reconstructionist Jewish thinkers advocate for a more permissive view, arguing that consensual sexual activity, including masturbation, can be a healthy expression of sexuality within a committed relationship or as a means of self-discovery. Christian perspectives on female masturbation are similarly diverse, shaped by varying interpretations of scripture and theological doctrines. Historically, many Christian denominations have condemned masturbation, drawing on passages that emphasize the importance of purity, self-control, and the procreative purpose of sex. Some interpretations view masturbation as a form of lust, a sin against one's own body, or a violation of marital fidelity. The Catholic Church, for example, considers masturbation an intrinsically and gravely disordered act, because it is deliberately deprived of its procreative potential. However, within Christianity, alternative perspectives are emerging. Some theologians and ethicists argue for a more nuanced understanding of sexuality, recognizing the importance of pleasure, intimacy, and self-discovery in healthy relationships. They challenge the traditional view of sex solely as a means of procreation and argue that consensual sexual activity, including masturbation, can be a legitimate expression of personal and relational fulfillment, as long as it is not driven by lust, addiction, or exploitation. Furthermore, some feminist theologians have argued that condemning female masturbation can be seen as a form of patriarchal control over women's bodies and sexuality. In Islam, the prevailing view on masturbation, for both men and women, is generally one of disapproval, although the level of condemnation varies. Islamic scholars often cite verses in the Quran that encourage modesty, self-control, and the avoidance of unlawful sexual acts. While the Quran does not explicitly mention masturbation, some interpretations consider it a form of zina, unlawful sexual activity, because it involves seeking sexual gratification outside of marriage. However, some Islamic scholars argue for a more lenient view, particularly in situations where marriage is not possible or where sexual urges are difficult to control. They may argue that masturbation is less harmful than engaging in illicit sexual relationships or succumbing to uncontrollable lustful thoughts. Furthermore, some scholars emphasize the importance of intention and context, suggesting that masturbation motivated by genuine need or to avoid greater sins might be permissible under certain circumstances. Like in other Abrahamic religions, modern interpretations are evolving with increased awareness of sexual health and personal autonomy. Moving beyond the Abrahamic religions, Eastern traditions offer diverse perspectives on female masturbation, often influenced by philosophical and spiritual concepts related to energy, balance, and self-cultivation. In Hinduism, views on masturbation vary depending on different schools of thought, scriptures, and cultural contexts. Some texts emphasize the importance of brahmacharya, celibacy, for spiritual advancement, particularly for monks and ascetics. In this context, masturbation might be discouraged as it is seen as a dissipation of vital energy. However, other Hindu traditions, particularly those associated with Tantra, recognize the potential for harnessing sexual energy for spiritual growth. In these traditions, sexual practices, including self-stimulation, might be seen as a way to explore one's own body, cultivate self-awareness, and connect with the divine. Furthermore, some interpretations emphasize the importance of personal autonomy and the right to explore one's own sexuality in a healthy and responsible manner. The emphasis is often on intention and context, rather than an outright condemnation of the act itself. In Buddhism, the focus is generally on cultivating mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment. The Buddha's teachings emphasize the importance of reducing craving and desire, which are seen as sources of suffering. In this context, masturbation might be viewed as an act that reinforces attachment to sensual pleasures and distracts from the path to enlightenment. However, some Buddhist teachers emphasize the importance of self-acceptance and compassion, suggesting that judging oneself harshly for experiencing sexual desires can be counterproductive. They might encourage individuals to explore their sexuality mindfully, without judgment or guilt, and to cultivate a healthy relationship with their own bodies. Furthermore, some Buddhist perspectives recognize the potential for sexual energy to be channeled into creative or spiritual pursuits. The key is to approach the topic with awareness, intention, and non-attachment. Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan, traditionally holds a more positive view of sexuality than many other religions. Shinto emphasizes the sacredness of nature, fertility, and the life force. In this context, sexual activity, including masturbation, might be seen as a natural and healthy expression of one's vitality. However, Shinto also emphasizes the importance of purity and harmony. Excessive or uncontrolled sexual activity might be seen as disruptive to one's inner balance or to the harmony of the community. Furthermore, traditional Shinto practices often involve purification rituals to cleanse oneself of any perceived impurities. Therefore, while masturbation might not be explicitly condemned, it would likely be approached with a sense of respect and moderation. The emphasis is on maintaining balance and harmony in all aspects of life. Indigenous religions around the world offer diverse perspectives on female masturbation, often deeply intertwined with cultural beliefs, rituals, and social structures. In some indigenous cultures, sexuality is viewed as a sacred and integral part of life, and sexual practices, including self-stimulation, might be incorporated into rituals or ceremonies. In others, sexuality is more regulated, and certain sexual behaviors might be considered taboo or restricted to specific contexts. The specific views on female masturbation would vary widely depending on the cultural norms, gender roles, and spiritual beliefs of each particular community. It is important to approach these perspectives with sensitivity and respect, recognizing the diversity and complexity of indigenous cultures. Furthermore, it is crucial to avoid generalizations and to understand that within each community, there may be a range of opinions and practices. In conclusion, religious perspectives on female masturbation are incredibly diverse and multifaceted. They are influenced by a complex interplay of theological doctrines, cultural norms, historical contexts, and individual interpretations. While some religions have historically condemned masturbation, others offer more permissive or nuanced views. Across all traditions, there is a growing recognition of the importance of female sexuality as a valid and important aspect of personal well-being. Modern interpretations often emphasize the importance of intention, context, and personal autonomy, encouraging individuals to explore their sexuality in a healthy, responsible, and mindful manner. Ultimately, the question of whether or not to engage in masturbation is a personal one, and individuals should be encouraged to make their own informed decisions based on their own beliefs, values, and experiences. It is important to approach the topic with sensitivity, respect, and a willingness to engage in open and honest dialogue. The key is to promote a culture of understanding, acceptance, and respect for individual choices. Religious perspectives on female masturbation are diverse and often complex, varying significantly across different traditions, denominations, and even within individual faith communities. Understanding these perspectives requires careful consideration of scriptural interpretations, historical contexts, cultural influences, and evolving theological viewpoints. It's important to acknowledge that a singular, religious view rarely exists, and individual adherents may hold personal beliefs that differ from official doctrines or popular understandings. In many religious traditions, particularly those with roots in Abrahamic faiths, sexuality is often viewed within the context of marriage and procreation. Within this framework, the primary purpose of sexual activity is seen as the generation of offspring and the strengthening of the marital bond. Consequently, any sexual act that does not contribute to these ends, including masturbation, may be viewed with disapproval or even condemnation. This stance often stems from interpretations of scriptural passages that emphasize the importance of chastity, marital fidelity, and the avoidance of lustful thoughts and behaviors. Some interpretations also suggest that the wasting of seed, symbolic of male procreative potential, is inherently wrong, and this principle is sometimes extended to female sexuality as well, even though the physical act differs significantly. However, even within these traditions, nuanced perspectives exist. Some theologians and religious scholars argue that the focus should be on the intention and motivation behind the act. If masturbation is engaged in as a means of self-discovery, stress relief, or simply as a pleasurable experience without harming oneself or others, it may be considered morally neutral or even potentially beneficial. This view emphasizes the importance of personal conscience and the individual's relationship with God, rather than strict adherence to rigid rules. Furthermore, some argue that a healthy understanding and acceptance of one's sexuality can actually enhance intimacy within marriage. In contrast to the more restrictive views found in some Abrahamic traditions, other religious and spiritual practices may hold more open or even positive views on female masturbation. Certain Eastern religions, for example, may incorporate practices involving self-exploration and the cultivation of sexual energy as part of a broader spiritual path. Tantric traditions, in particular, often view sexuality as a powerful force that can be harnessed for personal growth and spiritual enlightenment. In these contexts, masturbation may be seen as a means of connecting with one's own body, understanding one's desires, and cultivating self-love and acceptance. Indigenous spiritual traditions often hold diverse views on sexuality, reflecting the unique cultural values and beliefs of each community. In some cultures, sexuality is viewed as a sacred and integral part of life, and practices such as masturbation may be seen as a natural and healthy expression of one's being. In other cultures, sexuality may be more regulated and controlled, with specific rituals and customs governing sexual behavior. Understanding these diverse perspectives requires sensitivity and respect for the unique cultural context in which they arise. The interpretation of religious texts also plays a crucial role in shaping attitudes towards female masturbation. Some religious texts may contain passages that appear to condemn all forms of sexual activity outside of marriage, while others may be more ambiguous or open to interpretation. Religious scholars and theologians often engage in extensive debates over the meaning and relevance of these passages, taking into account the historical context, cultural influences, and the broader theological framework in which they are situated. These interpretations can significantly influence the views of religious adherents on issues such as female masturbation. Furthermore, the role of religious leaders and institutions in shaping attitudes towards female masturbation cannot be overlooked. Religious leaders often serve as moral guides and interpreters of religious doctrine, and their pronouncements on issues such as sexuality can have a profound impact on the beliefs and behaviors of their followers. Religious institutions, such as churches, mosques, and temples, also play a significant role in shaping cultural norms and values related to sexuality. The teachings and practices of these institutions can either reinforce traditional views or promote more progressive and inclusive perspectives. It is also important to acknowledge the influence of cultural factors on religious perspectives on female masturbation. Cultural norms and values related to sexuality vary widely across different societies, and these cultural influences can often shape religious interpretations and practices. For example, in some cultures, female sexuality may be more openly discussed and accepted, while in others, it may be more heavily regulated and controlled. These cultural differences can significantly influence the way that religious traditions approach issues such as female masturbation. The historical context is also crucial for understanding religious perspectives on female masturbation. Throughout history, attitudes towards sexuality have evolved significantly, influenced by social, political, and economic factors. In some historical periods, more restrictive views on sexuality may have been prevalent, while in others, more open and permissive attitudes may have prevailed. Understanding these historical shifts can shed light on the complex and evolving nature of religious perspectives on female masturbation. Moreover, the evolving nature of theological thought also contributes to the diversity of religious perspectives on female masturbation. As societies change and new challenges arise, theologians and religious scholars often engage in critical reflection on traditional doctrines and practices, seeking to adapt them to the needs of contemporary life. This process of theological reflection can lead to new interpretations of religious texts and the development of more nuanced and inclusive perspectives on issues such as female masturbation. The impact of feminism and other social movements on religious perspectives on female masturbation is also significant. The rise of feminism has challenged traditional gender roles and power dynamics, leading to a greater emphasis on female autonomy and sexual agency. This has prompted many religious scholars and theologians to re-examine traditional views on female sexuality, leading to the development of more feminist-informed perspectives on issues such as masturbation. Furthermore, the increasing visibility of LGBTQ+ individuals and their experiences has also contributed to the evolving nature of religious perspectives on female masturbation. As religious communities grapple with issues of sexual orientation and gender identity, they are often forced to re-examine traditional assumptions about sexuality and relationships. This can lead to a greater understanding and acceptance of diverse sexual expressions, including female masturbation.